afternoon. You're watching the English newscast here on Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, and these are today's headlines.
نحن ما زلنا متمسكين.
Lebanon's political elite adds to the country's aggravating political crisis by failing to elect a new head of state 2 years into the country's worst power vacuum. Syrian government forces and rebel factions send hundreds of reinforcements to Aleppo as opposition fighters announce an all-out offensive to take the country's second city. And at least 60 people are killed in a suicide attack at the Accident and Emergency Department of a hospital in Pakistan's Quetta. Lebanon's political elite has added to the country's aggravating political crisis by failing to elect a new head of state 2 years into the country's worst power vacuum. Like the 42 preceding president election sessions, Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri was forced to postpone today's session due to a lack of quorum when just 20 MPs of the 128-member legislature showed up. In a press conference after a meeting with Lebanese Forces Deputy Chief MP Georges Adouane at Parliament, Future Bloc leader MP Fouad Sanyoura insisted that electing a head of state remains a priority. Kataib Party Chief Sami Jmayel, one of the first lawmakers to arrive at Nejmeh Square, expressed shame over the ongoing paralysis. Lawmakers from MP Michel Aoun's bloc, Hezbollah's bloc, and some of its March 8 allies have been boycotting the electoral sessions, thus preventing a quorum. The next session to elect a new president is scheduled for September 7th. An explosion has occurred around midnight in the South Lebanon Palestinian refugee camp of Ain al-Helwi. The small blast shook Akbara neighborhood of the camp after a grenade was detonated. No casualties were reported. Ain al-Helwi, Lebanon's largest Palestinian camp, is also the base of a number of Palestinian and Islamist factions. It is often plagued by violence and explosions, which escalate into full-on street battles. And still in Lebanon, Agriculture Minister Akram Shayib has reassured that trash will not accumulate again in the streets of the capital or Mount Lebanon. During a tour to inspect the progress at the Costa Brava landfill south of Beirut, Shayib said the Council for Development and Reconstruction was fully conducting its work. The trash crisis, which broke out in July of last year with the closure of the infamous Name landfill, ended in March when the government decided to open 2 new landfills in Bush Hamoud and Costa Brava. Garbage, which had accumulated across Greater Beirut and Mount Lebanon, had been dumped in Name before it was permanently shut down in May of 2015. The CDR awarded the contract to construct Costa Brava landfill south of Beirut to Al Jihad Group for Commerce and Contracting after it lowered the price of its previously awarded then rejected bid. Syrian government forces and rebel factions have sent hundreds of reinforcements to Aleppo as opposition fighters announced an all-out offensive to take the country's second city. The battle for Syria's former economic powerhouse is intensifying after an opposition advance at the weekend broke through a 3-week government siege of the city's rebel-held east, dealing a major setback to government troops. Rebel forces on Sunday announced a bid to capture all of Aleppo city, which, if successful, would mark the biggest opposition victory yet in Syria's 5-year civil war. The forces loyal to President Bashar al-Assad are putting up a fierce fight and have begun pouring reinforcements into the city. Coming up next, Afghan authorities are searching for an Australian and an American who were kidnapped by gunmen in the capital, Kabul. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the English newscast here on Future Television. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg on Tuesday in what will be the first meeting between the two leaders following the thawing of tensions over Turkey's downing of a Russian jet late last year. The attempt to unseat the Turkish president might just be the key to diffusing tensions between the two old friends. Both Erdogan and Putin are interested in mending the rift and reviving economic and trade ties, a process that began in June following Ankara's apology for shooting down the Russian plane, which had been running bombing sorties in neighboring Syria. At least 60 people were killed in a suicide attack at the Accident and Emergency Department of a hospital in Pakistan's Quetta, where a group of mourning lawyers were gathered to accompany the body of a murdered colleague. More than 50 others were wounded. Muhammad Omar Baloch, Health Secretary of Balochistan, had earlier said 75 people were killed in the blast. The Balochistan Home Minister said, quote, "The blast occurred after a number of lawyers and some journalists had gathered at the hospital following the death of the president of the Balochistan Bar Association in a separate shooting incident earlier in the morning." A computer outage has delayed the departure of all Delta airline flights scheduled for this morning. The company urged travelers to check the status of their flights this morning while the issue is being addressed. Delta did not provide any information on what caused the computer outage or comment on how long it would take to fix the problem. On Twitter, Delta representatives urged patience as they dealt with a flood of messages from concerned passengers. Moving on to Afghanistan, authorities are searching for an Australian and an American who were kidnapped by gunmen in the capital, Kabul. The pair, believed to be affiliated with the Kabul University, was reportedly taken by 4 or 5 gunmen from a nearby road late on Sunday. It was not immediately clear who was responsible for the abduction. The Australian and American embassies in Kabul declined to comment any further. Japanese Emperor Akihito said in a rare video address to the public that he was worried his age may make it difficult for him to fully carry out his duties. In nationally televised remarks, 82-year-old Akihito also said there were limits to reducing the emperor's duties as the symbol of the state, the status accorded to the monarch under Japan's post-war constitution. Public broadcaster NHK reported last month that Akihito, who has had heart surgery and been treated for prostate cancer, wanted to step down in a few years, a move that would be unprecedented in modern Japan. Once considered divine, the emperor is defined in the constitution as a symbol of the state and the unity of the people and has no political power. A Kurdish inventor in Turkey has solved a problem many of us face while using our phones in public, which is how to protect what we're looking at from prying eyes. Sigal Kojer invented a secrecy screen for iPhones that enables only the user to view what is on the screen, thanks to a special chip in a pair of sunglasses. Check it out.
It's a problem many of us have faced. How to stop prying eyes peeking at what's on our phone screen. But an inventor in Turkey claims to have solved it. Selal Goja has invented a secrecy screen that turns iPhones invisible. Only the wearer of these glasses can see the screen. The magic is in a chip that enables the glasses to communicate with the phone.
Yani ben ilk yaptığım 6 ay
I made the first one in 6 months, the second one in 4 months, the third one took me 2 months, now I can make them in 10 days.
The residents in Goja's hometown of Bismil were impressed, and some were eager for the product to hit the market.
Telefon bembeyaz bir ekran, içinde hiçbir şey görülmüyor, menüsüne dair hiçbir şey yok.
The mobile screen is completely white. Nothing can be seen. You can't see the menu. He gave me the glasses, and when I put them on, I saw the complete menu. If I had this on my mobile, nobody would see what I'm looking at or which apps I'm using when I'm commuting.
I hope we will start mass production so we can benefit from this invention, because people can have private photos, text messages, emails, or they can make personal calls. We have things we don't want others to see, and we cannot currently look at those private messages and feel secure.
Goja says he must register a copyright for an invisible iPhone screen before he can sell it. The next plan is to invent a nanochip that can fit any glasses and turn the screen visible or invisible with a single button.
And the first person to beat Pokemon Go and capture all 145 Pokemon said he wasn't over with the game and hopes additional functions will be added soon. Johnson praised online as the Pokemon Go master is visiting the birthplace of the Pokemon game after capturing the last regional Pokemon in Sydney on August 5th and before returning to work in the United States on Wednesday.
I think that they would be very wise to learn from the success of this game and figure out how they can start building that into sort of all the different titles they do. I think they have a lot of different titles, whether it's Pokemon or Zelda or things like Mario, that are really about sort of going out and exploring the world and sort of that curiosity of always trying to find something new or defeating a new challenge. So I think that's one of the things that Pokemon has done really well with this game, and getting people to actually go out and do that around them in the real world. And I think that it would be pretty great if they could start building that into some of the other things that I think it would fit pretty naturally with that they have. For me, the success of Pokemon Go is a testament to the fact that gaming today is really pretty ubiquitous. Everyone has a smartphone, so the idea that gaming is something that sort of is a niche industry, as it has been in decades past, is definitely no longer true. Yeah, I'll definitely carry on playing it. There's still a handful of like the legendary Pokemon they haven't released yet, so I'll be looking forward to when they do that. And I'm hoping they add some of the more asked for features, like player versus player battling and sort of more direct interaction with other players. And it's still a great way to sort of hang out with friends and go outside, and it's a good excuse to exercise for me still. So I'll be keeping up the regimen.
Now for some more Pokemon news. The Pikachu monsters are coming to you. That's the idea behind a video aimed at drawing tourists to the Swiss city of Basel. The video has had nearly 65 million views on Facebook. Basel Tourism teamed up with marketing agency Fade Out to present a reverse Pokemon Go. Now people are the ones being hunted in a twist on the global gaming craze. Targeting young people, Basel Tourism said the video was showing off the city's attractions, such as the beautiful old town, the River Rhine and its bridges. Have a look. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a recap of our top stories. Lebanon's political elite adds to the country's aggravating political crisis by failing to elect a new head of state 2 years into the country's worst power vacuum. Syrian government forces and rebel factions send hundreds of reinforcements to Aleppo as opposition fighters announced an all-out offensive to take the country's second city. And at least 60 people are killed in a suicide attack at the Accident and Emergency Department in the hospital in Pakistan's Quetta. Those are your top stories for this Monday. I'm Linda Tamim, and I thank you all for tuning in.